The tall, slender figure moved through the halls of Oxbridge Academy like a shadow. Students instinctively stepped aside, not out of fear or admiration, but because of an unspoken rule. Everyone knew, don't interfere. He was the boy with no name in the system, the silent ghost of the school. Barron Trump was present, yet somehow absent, a figure who hovered on the edge of daily life. And now, for the first time, a former classmate, someone who once shared a classroom, who breathed the same air, has decided to speak. What they've revealed isn't just surprising. It's heartbreaking. Imagine being 16. Your body is growing faster than your confidence. Your face changes every time you look in the mirror. Now imagine going through all of that while being the son of the most talked about man in America. He never ate lunch, the classmate recalls, still amazed after all these years. Not once. Not a sandwich, not a bite. Nothing. The reason? Simple and tragic: safety. In a world where even a cookie could pose a threat, no food was ever truly safe for the president's son. Oxbridge Academy, an elite school in West Palm Beach, was unlike any other, just as Barron's experience there was unlike any other in American history. His life at school was an orchestration of security and silence. At first, most students didn't even know he was there. He was registered under a fake name. Teachers never called him Barron. Instead, they used a code name. His real identity, his name, his presence, was something hidden, protected, erased. And then, there were the Secret Service agents. Always nearby, yet trying not to be seen. They were everywhere, by exits, in cars, even dressed as janitors. They never spoke to him publicly, never acknowledged him. But they were always listening, always watching. Barron Trump, 6'9" and physically impossible to overlook, somehow managed to emotionally disappear. It was strange, the classmate says. He was the tallest kid in school, but he moved like he was trying to take up no space at all. Each day began with black SUVs and silent agents scanning the perimeter. Barron would step out dressed in plain clothes, neat, but never flashy. He never wore anything that drew attention. That was the first clue to who he really was, a boy who had never wanted the spotlight, but had it forced upon him. He never appeared in the yearbook. Never stood in team photos. No pictures, no tags, no digital trail. While other students posted prom photos and beach day candids, Barron left no footprint. It wasn't just about safety, the classmate says. It felt like the world wasn't allowed to see him. School is supposed to be the place where young people figure themselves out. But for Barron, it was where he disappeared. The students followed silent rules around him: don't approach him first, don't talk politics, don't invite him to parties, he wouldn't come anyway. It wasn't written anywhere, the classmate explains. We just knew. Like folklore passed around the hallways. Strangely, he never complained. Not once. Most rich or famous kids would have thrown fits, the classmate says. But Barron accepted it like he'd been living behind walls his whole life. In class, he rarely spoke, though not for lack of intelligence. His grades were excellent. He simply avoided drawing attention. But now and then, during group work, the real Barron would slip through. He had this dry, sharp sense of humor, the classmate says with a smile. He'd say something perfect, and we'd all laugh. And for a second, he'd smile too. A real one. Then it would vanish. Like he remembered he wasn't supposed to be seen. One memory still haunts the classmate. It was a history project, family trees. Most students shared old photos and funny stories. When it was Barron's turn, he paused. Then, in a quiet voice, said, "My family isn't just my family. It's public property." The room fell silent. He wasn't seeking pity. He was stating a fact. That's when I realized, the classmate says. He's known since he was a child that he'd never fully belonged to himself. Even his technology was cloaked in mystery. He carried a device, tablet-like, but with no visible brand. Its logo was covered in black tape. He never left it unattended. Rumor had it that it was a government-issued, encrypted tool, a digital fortress disguised as a school gadget. No one had his number. No one saw him use a regular phone. During a power outage, when everyone's phones died and the Wi-Fi crashed, Barron's device kept working. A plainclothed agent checked on him silently. He simply nodded. Their systems had backup for the backup. But it was the lunch hours that still strike the deepest chord. He'd sit quietly, sometimes near others, often alone. He never ate. When someone once broke the unspoken rule and asked why, Barron responded with just 2 words: security protocols. An agent nearby, disguised as a janitor, moved closer. The message was clear: don't push it. Rumors spread that Barron ate only in fully controlled environments, before and after school. Even something as ordinary as sharing fries or breaking bread was denied to him. Sometimes I'd catch him watching us share snacks, the classmate says. Not jealous. Just observing. Like we were part of a world he could never quite join. Despite it all, there were rare moments when he came alive, especially during soccer. That was the only time I saw him really relaxed, the classmate says, eyes lighting up. He was fast, smart, precise. The agents would watch from the sidelines, tense, but Barron. He was free out there. Actually smiling. There were other small, quiet gestures too, helping with a math problem, offering encouragement before a presentation. He wasn't cold, the classmate insists. He was careful. Always so careful. Even his belongings reflected that care. His backpack was always meticulously organized. Pens that always worked. Papers aligned. Not out of wealth, but out of a need for control. When your life is orchestrated by others, you take control where you can. There was one moment, however, when his emotional armor briefly cracked. It was after the 2020 election. During an English class discussion, someone casually mentioned the president's kids. Everyone froze. Barron looked at his hands, then up. You just wish people could talk to me without thinking of him, he said softly. He didn't mean it angrily. He was just tired. Like he needed to put the weight down, just for a second, the classmate says. Then he straightened up. The wall came back. Years later, when Barron enrolled at NYU Stern School of Business, subtle changes appeared. Everyone was talking about that Rolex, the classmate notes, a $5,000 Daytona spotted on his wrist in early 2025. But it wasn't about flaunting wealth. It was a signal. A choice to be seen. A quiet declaration, I'm not hiding anymore. In high school, Barron dressed to disappear. The watch was different. It was a symbol. Not of luxury, but of autonomy. At NYU, he's slowly stepping into a new version of himself. He still doesn't live in dorms. He still maintains a fiercely guarded digital privacy. But he participates now, asks questions in class, joins study groups, even attends the occasional event. Always under careful watch, always controlled, but present. Visible. Female classmates describe him as intriguing, not because of his name, but because of his quiet intensity, his surprising humor, his sharp mind. More tellingly, he's gravitating toward fields that have nothing to do with politics or real estate. He's been spotted at AI panels, data privacy seminars. It makes sense, the classmate muses. Who understands privacy better than someone whose life has been protected like state secrets? In the end, the silence surrounding Barron Trump wasn't weakness. It was strength. In a world obsessed with likes, followers, and exposure, Barron built an identity that exists without public validation. His privacy wasn't just about security, the classmate says. It was about survival. About keeping something of himself. Now, as he charts his own path, we're seeing someone new, not just Donald Trump's son, not just Melania's boy, but Barron himself. I don't know what he'll do next, the classmate says. But I know this, it would be a mistake to underestimate him. He's spent his whole life watching, learning, absorbing, while giving away nothing. Everyone assumes that power comes from being seen. But Barron Trump seems to have discovered something else entirely, that sometimes, true power lies in being unseen. In patience. In silence. In the space between who the world thinks you are and who you really are.